Welcome to a deep dive, everyone. Today we're tackling the 48 Laws of Power. This book, well, let's be honest, it can be a bit uh, intense.
Provocative.
Exactly, provocative, but that's why you all wanted us to unpack it, right? So no sugarcoating. We're going deep
Mhm.
on how to understand and maybe even use these laws.
It's about awareness, really. Greene, he doesn't hold back. He's pulling from history, from con artists to show power dynamics are everywhere.
Everywhere. Okay, so let's jump right in. Say you're starting out, trying to navigate the playing field of power.
Right off the bat, Law 1, never outshine the master. This one trips people up. It's not about being less smart.
It's about what? Making your boss feel good?
More than that, it's about their perception of you. You being valuable, sure, but not a threat. Louis XIV's finance minister, Fouquet. This guy, he had a knack for, well, he threw one lavish party.
Let me guess. Louis showed up in jeans and a t-shirt and felt underdressed.
Haha, not quite. But imagine this party so grand, it made the king's own palace look, well, ordinary.
Ouch. Not the way to win friends and influence monarchs.
Exactly. Fouquet learned the hard way that making your superior feel insecure is, well, bad for business.
Note to self, don't upstage the king in his own game. What's next?
Law 2, use enemies. This one throws people.
Use enemies. Isn't that, counterintuitive?
Think of Emperor Sung. He showered potential rivals with gifts, nice retirements, kept them close, but not too close.
Ah, little strategic distancing. Keep your friends close and your enemies even closer, but, with a really nice fruit basket.
You got it. Sometimes a little distance, even a bit of rivalry, can make a relationship and alliance stronger. But power is not always subtle. Sometimes you need boldness. Law 28. Enter action with boldness.
Whoa, that's a hard turn. From playing it cool to going all in.
It's about knowing when to use which tool. Take Yellow Kid Weil, this con man. He convinced a guy to buy into a boxing lodge, the whole thing, a sham.
Wait, a boxing lodge? What is this, 1920s Chicago?
Right. But it's about appearances. Weil created this aura of success. He understood that, especially at first glance, projecting confidence can be more convincing than actual substance.
Fake it till you make it, but with a con man's flair.
In a way. And speaking of appearances, sometimes the most powerful move is disappearing. Law 16. Use absence to increase respect and honor. Think of Diocles, an ancient judge.
Absence. Ghosting people. I don't think that's in the employee handbook.
Not ghosting. Diocles, he was known for his wisdom. But he realized being too available made him less influential, so he made himself scarce.
They pulled a disappearing act. Bold move.
But the people missed his judgment. When he came back, they craved his wisdom. Absence made him even more powerful.
So sometimes stepping back, even briefly, can make your return more impactful. It's like the power of the rain check.
Exactly. It's about mastering these seemingly opposite strategies, knowing when to step forward, when to hold back, when to disappear.
So you're saying it's not enough to just, play the game. You have to know the other players, their motivations, right?
It's like that old saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Well, Greene would probably say it's both, and then some.
And then some. Okay, so how do we get inside the heads of these players? Where do we even start?
Law 19. Know who you're dealing with. Do not offend the wrong person. And Greene, he uses the story of Coriolanus to really hammer this home.
Coriolanus. Okay, refresh my memory. He's
Roman general. Brilliant military mind, but a total disaster when it came to, shall we say, people skills.
let me guess, he thought a strongly worded memo could conquer Gaul.
Basically. He underestimated the Roman people, their intelligence, thought just winning battles would make them love him.
But people are complicated. They want more than just a winning streak.
Exactly. Coriolanus, he failed to grasp what the people really valued. Security, stability, a leader who understood their daily lives. He ignored that at his own peril.
So instead of connecting with them, meeting their needs, he alienated them.
And it cost him everything. It's a reminder that understanding what makes people tick, what they truly desire, it's more valuable than brute force, or in his case, military glory.
It's about leverage, right? Finding those pressure points, the thumb screws, as Greene calls them in Law 33.
Oh, you're getting it. This law, it's all about uncovering those hidden levers that can influence someone's behavior.
Okay, I'm starting to feel a little, manipulative here. Like we're learning to become puppet masters.
Think of it more like strategic observation. Let's talk about Joseph Duveen, the art dealer to the stars.
This guy sold paintings to, millionaires, right?
He didn't just sell paintings. He understood their desires, their need to possess something unique, to feel validated. He'd study their homes, their habits, everything, to figure out their thumbscrew.
So it wasn't just about the art itself. It was about tapping into something deeper, more psychological.
Exactly, and that's the power of knowing the thumbscrew. It's not about forcing your will on someone, but understanding what motivates them, what they secretly crave.
Okay, so we've gone from, like, understanding the overall game of power to actually figuring out the players, their motivations.
Yes.
Now what? What happens when we take all this and try to, like, shape perceptions, engineer reactions?
That's when things get really interesting. That's when we start to see the true art of power in action.
Okay, so we've talked about understanding the players, their motivations, their thumbscrews. But how do we actually use that knowledge? How do we, steer things in our favor?
Well, sometimes the most unexpected moves are the most effective. That's where Law 22 comes in. Use the surrender tactic.
Surrender. Wait a minute. Are we talking about, like, giving up? I thought we were trying to win this power game.
Not giving up, but strategically yielding. Think of it like a judo move. You use your opponent's strength against them.
So it's about playing possum, making them think they've won, and then, bam.
Yeah.
You strike when they least expect it.
You could put it that way. It's about creating an opening, a shift in the power dynamic by appearing weaker than you are.
Okay, I'm intrigued, but I need an example. Give me a historical surrender that wasn't actually a defeat.
Think about the Malians, a small island state during the Peloponnesian War. They were up against Athens, a real powerhouse.
David and Goliath situation. I'm guessing the underdog didn't fare too well.
And they refused to surrender. They fought for their ideals, their independence, but it ultimately led to their destruction. A strategic surrender, even if it meant swallowing their pride, might have bought them time, a chance to regroup.
So sometimes knowing when to fold, to live another day, that's the real power move.
Yeah.
It's like they say in poker, right?
Exactly. It's about choosing your battles, understanding that sometimes a temporary retreat can lead to a more advantageous position in the long run.
It makes you wonder how often we cling to lost causes, to our own detriment.
It's a trap, especially when our egos are involved. But power isn't always about brute force or strategic retreats. Sometimes it's about tapping into something, well, more primal. Law 32. Play to people's fantasies.
Okay, now we're getting into dangerous territory. People's fantasies. Isn't that how con artists operate?
Think of it this way. Humans have a remarkable capacity for self-deception, especially when faced with unpleasant realities.
So you're saying we'd rather believe a comforting lie than a harsh truth. Sadly, I think we see that all the time these days.
It's not new. Take Bragadino, this alchemist in 16th century Venice. He promised he could solve all their financial problems. How? By turning dust into gold, of course.
Alchemy?
Now, that's a fantasy I haven't heard in a while. Did anyone actually buy that? People showered him with gifts, with praise. They wanted to believe in his promises and the fantasy of easy riches. And it's not just about money. We see this everywhere, in marketing, in politics, even in our personal relationships.
So the lesson here is, be wary of anyone selling you a fantasy, no matter how tempting it seems.
Yeah.
Especially if it involves alchemy.
Exactly. Critical thinking, now that's a true power move.
Speaking of power moves, there's one more law I want to touch on, and it feels like a bit of a chameleon. Law 44. Disarm and infuriate with the mirror effect.
Mirroring. This one's fascinating, isn't it? It's about understanding that people are drawn to those who reflect their own beliefs, their values, even their mannerisms back at them.
So it's like building rapport, creating a sense of, hey, this person gets me.
Exactly. Think of Alcibiades, the Athenian general and politician. This guy could charm anyone, from Spartan warriors to Athenian elites. How? He mirrored them, reflecting back their values and behaviors. He made them feel understood.
So a little bit of chameleon-like adaptation can go a long way in winning people over.
But there's a fine line. Overdo it, and you come across as insincere, manipulative. Alcibiades, for all his charm, he made a lot of enemies too.
It's like that saying, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, until it's not.
Exactly. It's about being genuine, using this tactic ethically to build bridges, not to manipulate.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Robert Greene's The 48 Laws of Power, what's the takeaway? What have we learned?
These laws, they're not a checklist for world domination, but a lens through which to understand the dynamics of power, both in history and in our own lives.
From never outshining the master, to strategically surrendering, from understanding thumbscrews, to wielding the double-edged sword of mirroring, it's all about awareness.
And with awareness comes responsibility.
Exactly. So, Listeners, as you move forward, ask yourself, where do you see these laws playing out in your own lives? And how can you use this knowledge not to manipulate or control, but to navigate the world with more awareness, more agency, and maybe even a little bit more power? Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone. Until next time.